Hey party people, it's Veronica and I am really excited to talk to you today about racism and empathy. So on Monday night in the show, I made a comment about not comparing Shanna's experience with racism to that of a non-African American. I want to clear this up because I believe when you can have empathy surrounding the issue of racism, it can be groundbreaking. So let me set this up for you. I come from a rich legacy of diversity. Diversity is a beautiful thing. And one of the great things about it is it expands your heart. It expands the compartments of room that you can now have tolerance. You can experience new things and you can get a new perspective. Case in point. My brother fraternity on the University of Georgia's campus, Phi Beta Sigma, and my founding chapter or my birth chapter, whatever you want to call it, my undergraduate chapter at the University of Georgia, Zeta Phi Beta, were the first organizations to integrate on that campus. Okay, I have sorority sisters and fraternity brothers that are white, Asian, Hispanic, East Indian, African, Caribbean, and the list could truly go on and on. And the beautiful thing that they added to my life, not only my organization, but to my life, is that I learned to try new foods, to experience and understand new religions and how they interact with my beliefs. I learned about new music and new styles of dress. But I also got to see their experience with racism. I didn't walk in their shoes, but that doesn't negate that their experience with racism can't relate to my experience with racism. They are not the same. And when Shanna made her comment about understanding, she was saying, I can stand with you in camaraderie against something that I have experienced. She never said, I know what it's like to be Black in America, people. She said, I can empathize with something that you've gone through because I have experienced something similar. Now, the key point and power behind that is that anyone who has ever felt the vicious sting of racism has the right to speak their truth. Because when they do, they can show us a diversified experience that I did not experience. And I can say, wow, that should not have happened. I can then address it and take that personal experience heart to heart into my workplace, into my church, into my social circle, and I can break down barriers because I saw something from a new perspective and how it related to mine. So I can check someone that acts in this systemic cycle of normalizing that racism exists. When you say, I have experienced racism, or it is okay for racial profiling to exist because as an Asian person I have been profiled, or as a Jewish person I have been stereotyped. The tricky thing in our culture is that we don't want to talk about racism. We don't want to because it's uncomfortable. But because it's uncomfortable, we say things like, yes, I've been through that too. We don't address that shouldn't happen. And the beauty in each diversified person telling their experience and how it could relate to my experience is this. When you have diversified voices and systemically, well, actually not systemically because they're silent systemically, but in a community model, we address and acknowledge that happened. Instead of normalizing it and quieting that voice because it's happened to all of us, if we address it, and then take that response or new knowledge that we have and apply it to other things in our lives, we give power to that voice. And now we have diversified voices that are talking about something that directs us all in our communities and at large in our nation. So when you blend those diversified voices, you have a harmonious symphony of sound that creates change, that creates impact, and that changes people's perspectives. Now imagine if culturally a white business owner in a city like Ferguson were to say, I can empathize with what's happening in this community because blah, blah, blah. And then people in that community can say, yes, because X, Y, and Z has happened, and that business owner responded in this way, I can support their business, or I've seen them support cleaning up our community. That creates an explosion of powerful change. We need to talk about racism and empathy. We need to talk about how your walk is similar to mine and how our walks are different, so that we can address the area of need in my life and I can help address the area of need in yours. And then together we can start healing things and changing lives and moving ourselves forward victoriously. Not only is that the heart of grassroots movements, and why historically when we organized together, our voices were stronger, but it helps us show person to person that we matter, that your life matters, that what you've experienced matters to me, or to her, or to him, and we're able to grow and be enlightened instead of continuing to live under this disguise that because there's diversity, everything's okay. Diversity is a beautiful thing, but it's not enough if we don't layer empathy, because those can silence racism in ways that, in ways that just diversity alone never could. It makes it personal, and it means I have to take ownership of the racism that you've experienced and change that. And you have to take ownership of the racism that I have experienced and make changes too. Now, I want to do two things. One, I want to talk about how we are dealing with this conversation, okay? Conversations about the show, conversations about all of it. As a member of a Divine Nine organization, I was privileged to be given those Greek letters, but the content of my character dictates the type of Greek I will be. I take ownership for all my words, I take ownership for all my choices, and I take ownership for how I carry myself in the world. We all are individually responsible for that image portrayal, and I understand that. I also respect that people have other opinions. However, I think we have to be very conscious of how we talk about things that bother us in our communities. I'm not saying that you are not entitled or right to your opinions. I'm saying sometimes we perpetuate the same stereotype that has been levied upon us in the words that we choose to use, like cursing, derogatory comments, personal attacks. Those things make it very tricky for your voice to be heard because you haven't articulated your point. You have perpetuated a stereotype. So I just want to make that clear and be conscious that I'm not trying to silence any voices, but I'm asking you to lend your voice in a way that will bring about change, not more anger. And I say that with this reference. When in Christianity we embarked historically on the Crusades, more lives were lost than saved. There was more pillaging and massacring than preaching of the gospel. And if you look at the missionary model, which is still circulating today, when people got heart to heart, eye to eye with each other, there was an exponential growth and boom in the spread of Christianity. Why? Because we talked about it person to person. And not only that, but we did it in a manner that was respectful and clear. We created ways and we physically, mentally, emotionally, financially showed that love. Now, I'm not saying everybody has to be a Christian. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm using those models so that you can see they had the same message, but with two different approaches, the results were exponentially different. So I didn't mean to rant. I didn't mean to preach. I just wanted to make sure that as we're moving forward, we move forward victoriously. And I wanted to clear up my opinion on diversity and my stance on racism, empathy, and how we talk to and treat each other. Love and light. Peace out.